So, how did you get the idea to do Challenge Accepted and kind of get into making your own videos?
Yeah, so just to clarify, so challenge accepted, I'm actually, before this experience, was not a trained martial artist. And that's kind of the whole thing about challenge accepted is that in each episode, I pick a different career, profession, stunt, or lifestyle to really transform my life for a long period of time. I heard you mention Morgan Spurlock, and definitely very inspired by his participatory journalism and documentaries that he made. And this was really our first feature-length foray. Now, on YouTube itself, our channel makes what most people would consider long-form content, which is in the 30 to 40-minute range, but this piece was 77 minutes. And the idea for Challenge Accepted as a whole kind of came about, as you mentioned, when I graduated. I was a professional cyclist, and I also had a day job. So I was living this Hannah Montana lifestyle where I was editing videos and working in traditional Hollywood in some cases. And then at night and on the weekends, I would go somewhere in the world, race all weekend, and then come back and do it all again the next week. And it sort of got to this point where I felt like I could combine these two loves. There's got to be a way. And so Challenge Accepted was born because there are so many amazing shows about talented people or comedians or celebrities trying something for a day. But I really wanted to ask the question, what if you really committed? How far could an amateur go if you get the best coaches in the world and your whole life is surrounding, in this case, taekwondo for 90 days? What would happen? And it's been a really amazing experience because I actually started this show because I'm a very fearful and anxious person. I guess that kind of makes me look cool. Our editors did an amazing job. But I'm a very anxious person. And so each episode is me tackling a different part of my own fear. And what I didn't expect was that just by doing that and showing that, it could help, in our case, hundreds of millions of people overcome their own fears too. And so what started for me is, oh, this is a fun thing I can do. And it's great to be able to post on YouTube where the only barrier to entry is the upload button. I also am consistently brought back to the work for the mission of the people watching.
Mm-hmm. And so what did it mean going from, your shorter format, even like from 40 minutes to 77 minutes, like in the sense of storytelling and all that?
So for our production process, we never actually necessarily put a time limit or time expectation on a piece. And we really decide in the edit, what does the story require? And in some cases, that's 15 minutes to tell the story of what it's like to work at a 911 dispatch center and deliver a baby over the phone. And in this case, I'm going to be honest, there's really no faster way to tell the story of going from white belt to black belt than 77 minutes. And you feel that in the piece, that yes, it is 77 minutes, but it moves. And I think that is really a manifestation of the objective we have is how can we tell the most entertaining story possible and the most complete narrative also.
And talk about, well, what are your favorite moments in this show?
My favorite from this piece specifically?
Yeah, from this piece.
So obviously it was very special for me at the end of this journey to get to the black belt test, which you got to see a piece of in the end here. And I'm really, really proud of how that turned out. So this piece had 45 shoot days on it. 45 shoot days where a team was coming to training with me. And then the final test day, I think we had a crew of 30 or 40 people on set, plus all of the students, who were talent watching the test. And so to me, that end of the piece is not only an emotional and exciting win for myself, but also on the production side, a huge accomplishment for our team that we're really proud of. I'm also really excited in this piece that I got to work with Taekwondo legend, Master Simon Rhee, who's the star of Best of the Best and has, doubled some of the biggest actors in Hollywood. And I love that about Challenge Accepted because any documentary, you get to fall in love with your subject. And to me, finding those subjects to cover is the most exciting part of the documentary process. And in fact, casting the coaches or the people I'll be working with is oftentimes the most lengthy part of this whole thing. And I'm sure you guys in the audience can relate to when you're choosing a subject to cover. It's kind of like you're choosing a partner in a way. It's like we're going to be really intimate for a long time and see each other at our highs and our lows. And so it was really special that Mastery agreed to do this project. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're shaping the narrative of these things, but you're also at the center. The narrative is partly you, your failures, your striving to overcome these big challenges. So along the way, how much are you thinking about that? Like, how much are you thinking like, oh, I failed today? Well, at least it'll be a good plot point. Or, do you, I mean, you described how in this case you were building up to this, one of your most ambitious shoots ever. Like, are you able to tune out of that and let your crew handle that? Or how do you double dip in these things?
It's a really interesting tension between being producer Michelle versus host Michelle, who has to deal with the problems and obstacles producer Michelle has also come up with. Um, and I think that balance is really important to tell an honest story. And I'll give you an example from this piece. So there was a day when we were training, um, and it is one of the most, at the time, it was a very embarrassing moment for me. I went to training at 6 in the morning. We're in the middle of training, and my period started. And if you can see, you wear white when you do this. And I bled through my dobok, and we were filming. I was like, oh my God, the one day we're filming this week, this happens to me. This hasn't happened to me since middle school. This is crazy. And
Call Judy Bloom.
Could have. But my instructor, Mastery, stepped in, and he did something I never expected. And he drove home. He left me at the gym. He drove home and brought me a new uniform. Said, put it on, and we're going right back to training. And
this is it's a scene in the film. I mean,
yes,
it's a moment that you may wanna like leave out.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you, we're in the edit room, and I'm like, guys, I don't know about this one. This is so intimate, and there are a lot of like very vulnerable moments throughout Challenge Accepted, which make it special and interesting. And this one, I was like, I don't know about this one, guys. And all of the men on our team pushed and said, you have to include this. You have to. And so I gave in and I said, okay, we're going to include this. And when you look at the data of the film, which we have access to on YouTube, it is the most rewatched scene of the film. It's not the black belt test. It's not me trying to break a brick. It is that scene. And the comments section is flooded with young women saying, this is what I needed to see today. And I think like you have to, when you are in your own work, give in to that producer self for the greater good of the audience, because that is ultimately who we are serving as documentarians.
So you're coming from the future for many of us who, who know about YouTube because our children watch it.
Like in a time machine?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Complete with the outfit.
Oh, thanks.
So for people who live in a traditional media world for whom the bottom is falling out of their industry, what can you report from the front lines of being a storyteller in this new medium?
I mean, I found my way into all of this for exactly the reasons you were talking about at the beginning of this, that I looked at the road ahead for me as someone who looks like me and has the interests that I do, and I didn't see anyone in that lane quite yet. The people I look up to, the Morgan Spurlocks, Steve Irwin, David Blaine. Those are all of one category of people, though diverse in interests. And I looked up to them, but I didn't know how I fit into that. And I was honestly kind of like forced into this direction of doing it myself. And it's really been a special privilege, though, to challenge myself to not only make the work and vulnerably put it online, but also to learn how to lead a team, lead a production team, be the CEO of a production company, and manage all of those moving parts. And so I guess I would say from the future, make it, you know, and that the best green light you can give and receive is from yourself.
I mean, I describe it as the future. In some ways, it's also the past of television because you do these things with brand sponsors. It's like 1950s television. This show is brought to you by Tide. So what is, can you talk a little bit about that relationship, you know, the how you make a decision about, well, what's going to be a right brand to work with, and is there are there decisions made about what you're doing that are influenced by the brands who are sponsoring you?
Well, on YouTube, there are two ways of going about that. There's obviously like when you watch YouTube and an ad just starts playing like mid-roll, kind of like you would see on another streaming platform. We don't really have say over those, but the ones that are baked into the videos, our team is very sensitive and careful about who we work with and want to ensure that the brand, improves the content, first of all, and is also aligned in the mission of what we're doing. So, for example, the sponsor of this episode was Dove. And Dove has had a long history of supporting women in sport and young girls' confidence, which is absolutely the mission we were going for here. At the same time, it's important for me as a nonfiction storyteller that the story is always king. And if other people or collaborators are involved, they have to, fall in with that first. So we've been really fortunate to always consistently find those partners to bring our projects to life, and also know when to say no.
So we've got just a minute left. You flew in tonight to be here with us today. Thank you so much. I know you're going to go to JFK now and get on an airplane because you're about to work on your next segment, which is?
In just a few weeks, I am going to be recreating Tom Cruise's stunt from Mission Impossible 5, where he's hanging off the side of a military aircraft as it's taking off. So
you've never done that before?
I've never done that before, but if you're in Northern California a couple weeks, just look up in the sky. I might be there.
Well, we can't wait to see that. Thank you for coming and sharing your perspective. Thanks to Michelle Khare.